At one point, it looked like Jalen Carter was the slam dunk number one player in this draft, a guy who, was going to be a top 5 pick. The Chicago Bears being the first overall pick, the thought was they could trade down a little ways in the draft and get Jalen Carter. But boy, has a lot changed in a short period of time. It all started, I think, when Todd McShay mentioned that there were some character concerns, and everyone kind of dismissed it, saying, "Oh, what are you talking about? This is criminal that you're." I don't know about criminal, but this was one of those situations where you draft guys. They could just say whatever they want. It may not end up being true. And then the combine happens, and Jalen Carter was arrested for potentially his role in the racing death of a teammate. And when that happened, I think the floodwaters opened, and you started to hear more about issues with Jalen Carter. Ian Rappaport had mentioned it, amongst others, mentioned that he had some issues with his off the field, his work ethic. He didn't put in the extra work at Georgia. He didn't practice the best. He didn't have the best practice habits. He relied so much on his natural athletic ability, and teams worried, and the worry out there was that he got away with it in college because he was just so much bigger, stronger, and faster than anyone he was going up against. And would that catch him at the NFL? And so you had that, and I think it's safe to assume that that's what maybe Todd McShay was talking about. His football character had some issues. I don't know if Todd McShay was talking about his off-the-field character, like criminal things. But so you have those concerns, those rumors that about his football character might not being the best. Then you have the issues legally. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how this situation's going to go. For all we know, Jalen Carter might be found innocent. He might have a role. He might plea out of it. He may be found guilty. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. But that's just not a good look to be involved in this. And then today was Georgia's pro day. So Jalen Carter didn't do any on-the-field workouts at the combine, understandably so. He had to go back to Athens, turn himself into the police, came back to answer questions, interview with teams. So he has his pro day. And Jalen Carter doesn't do any of the measurable testing, 40, short shuttle, any of that stuff. He actually shows up 9 pounds heavier than he did at the combine, which was, a couple weeks ago? Okay, not a big deal. Guys cut weight all the time. But then all indications report that Jalen Carter couldn't even finish his positional drills. He complained of cramps. He was out of breath. And it's just another thing. And I think at this point, Jalen Carter's stock has to be plummeting. I mean, even if you take away the criminal charges and everything that goes with that. If we're looking at the reports of him not being a good practice player, and now he's shown up heavier than he was at the combine and not being able to get through his workout, this is one of the most important job interviews of his career. I mean, guys train. A lot of guys, as soon as the season's off, they're training and working at this. And it didn't look like he prepared. And so the thought that he's not a good practice player, I think is now proven here. I mean, him outside of maybe Georgia being in practice, spring ball, fall camp, during the season, that's what maybe kept him in shape. Is he putting in the work? How much effort did he do leading up to this? I don't know. But from every indication, everything that you hear out of it, he wasn't prepared. And so the thought was, okay, Jalen Carter with all those issues, he might drop. to the bottom half of the first round. A team like Seattle at 5 could still take him. I know I've mocked him to Atlanta at 8. Chicago was there for the pro day. There was still talk that the Bears could take him at 9 and be able to trade all the way back and still get one of the best players in this class. I could be wrong. It's still a month away from the draft. A lot can change. And teams could still, it just takes one team to be able to just fall in love and say, hey, we can get him. We trust in our locker room. We trust in our leaders. We think he's a good kid. He just needs some growing up to do, some leadership around him. And we're going to take him high and bank on him being an elite player. This could still happen. But I'm not positive that's going to happen. I think we could see Jalen Carter falling and potentially getting into the 20s. Now, will that happen? I don't know. But it wouldn't, if you're concerned that, hey, there's some teams that might take him off their board completely because of the criminal incident. There's some teams that might take him off their board completely because of this stuff. And so that could cause him to drop. Teams might say, I don't know if I'm willing to take him this high. We like him. And maybe, like I said, maybe he goes in the back half of the, in that late teens, early 20s. Okay. But it's one, I just think when teams look at it and they really question your work ethic, that's going to cause teams to pass. And then you factor in what could all happen with this criminal case that might not even get resolved by draft time. Would it really shock you if he fell to the second round? I don't think he's going to. I'd bet against it happening, but it wouldn't shock me. But quite the fall from a guy who, not even a month ago, was everybody's first pick in this draft. Obviously, the Bears were going to trade down. To one of their top 2 or 3 players in this draft, consensus top 5 pick, and now we're talking, at least I'm talking, could he go in the second round?